Good.
Pretty good.
It's
Yeah.
pretty cold outside,
Yes,
though.
so cold.
The wind.
Freezing.
Oh, it's the
Freezing here in
wind.
DC.
It's
The
yes.
wind.
It makes it so much worse, especially
I
with all the
know,
buildings.
and like my face, the wind like hurts my face,
My
and hurts my
ears.
ears. Yes.
Ya tú sabes la manera, la gente quiere en Shango, los nenes no esperan. Es el paz que nos hablamos, tune in every weekend for the beat. Este es Shango. Dale pues, mueve las caderas. Dale pues, mueve las caderas. Dale pues, mueve las caderas. Dale pues, dale pues, dale pues. Dale pues, mueve las caderas. Dale pues, mueve las caderas. Dale pues, mueve las caderas. Dale pues, dale pues, dale pues.
Hola y bienvenidos oyentes. My name is Chantilly.
Me llamo Thalia.
Me llamo Gabby.
Y yo me llamo Lucaya.
Y somos Radio Shango.
Okay, so speaking of La Diaspora, as you all may know, the African diaspora encompasses pretty much the globe, including Latin America, but we have our own diaspora as well.
Yeah, immigration within the Latine community has been a heavy topic over the past year, but especially the past few weeks with Trump in office.
Immigration has always been a thing in the U.S. I mean, we're founded by immigrants. The movement of the Latina community to the U.S. is just as much a part of our history as anything else.
¿Puedes explicarnos? Can you give us the rundown?
Sí, claro. Immigration from Latin America stemmed from so many different factors, like war, economic instability, and the search for better opportunities, of course. One of the first big surges in immigration was the need for people to work in agriculture during World War II, as the previous workforce was being pulled into war industries. There was even a program by the U.S. government and the Mexican government called Paracero, I hope I'm saying that right, which encouraged Mexican workers to come work for the U.S. under contract. Throughout the decades, however, things like political unrest and the promise of quotations, the American dream, brought people to the U.S. looking for more opportunities. Because when you think about it, for example, in places like El Salvador, people were running from gang violence and extreme poverty. However, it should be noted that the U.S. did have a hand in the economic and political state of Central and South America. The United States made these developing countries reliant on them. So when these people were living in situations that weren't stable, where else would you go than the place that always was, again, quote, greater than your home? I'm not sure if anybody else wanted to share, but I feel this is kind of personal to some of us. So maybe my family's story is eligible for this topic.
Yeah, of course.
But my grandparents came to the United States in the 70s, I believe. I think my grandfather came to study English and look for like jobs, of course, and they came from El Salvador. I think my uncle was just a baby, and they came to Washington, D.C. from here and grew up in Mount Pleasant. They settled there. My grandma, she literally ran a daycare center from our home, and my grandfather worked in construction. And eventually they did become U.S. citizens, thank goodness, and I was there to witness that. But I'm very proud of their story, and I understand where they came from.
you should
and
be.
right, yeah, and like it's a very relatable thing to a lot of people in America.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, even with me, my grandparents as well. I mean, my grandmother, she's a U.S. citizen, but my grandfather wasn't at the time. And, you know, I think they definitely made a better life for themselves coming from Mexico, too. So, I mean, my grandfather, he's still a landscaper. You know, the people that work on, and it's kind of crazy because growing up, whenever my parents tell me, oh, yeah, your grandfather's a landscaper, I would think that he was like, I don't know, you know, like an interior design, like that kind of landscaper. Yeah, and it wasn't literally, like, kind of really until recent, like in high school, that I learned what landscaper was for real. And that's, like, the people that work on all the flower beds in school, who mow the grass, like. And then my grandmother was a janitor at schools, like, and so, I mean, that's part of the reason why I have so much empathy for the workers here, the janitors, even at hotels, like room service, like, it's empathy. These are real people, you know what I mean? So I don't know. Does anyone else? Yeah.
Yeah.
No, for real.
I talked about it a little bit in our last episode, but like what you mentioned, the Bracero program, like my great grandpa was eligible for that. I think that's what my mom told me, but he really didn't want like to, I guess, be assimilated to U.S. ideals, so he denied it. But I think it's so funny that the next generation ended up here, anyways, or like every generation after my grandma was here, like, and then became assimilated to U.S. Like lifestyle. But like you said, it just goes to show like how much things can change whenever people it's like a whole entire lifestyle change or generational change.
Yep, and the political climate is heavy right now because of how much has changed. Since Trump has been sworn in as president, he kept his word to start mass deportations, promising to deport all quote-unquote illegal immigrants or criminals out of this country.
Yeah, it doesn't sit right with me that they're called illegals. Like, no one's illegal.
Or aliens. Like,
I know.
Let's talk about that. Calling them
It's
aliens.
just dehumanizing language, and I know it's like it's rhetoric and it's intentional, but I just think we all need to be aware of that. Like, they're doing it to dehumanize people. And like, I don't know if you've seen that video. I think it's Trump's, what is it, like press secretary?
Oh,
Yeah, and she was
I saw
saying
that.
like somebody, like a news reporter asked her, you guys said you were only deporting illegal criminals, so why are you not looking into the criminal backgrounds of everybody who you're detaining? And she's like, well, technically, under our administration, they're criminals because they're here illegally. Like, that qualifies them automatically.
And that's the thing. It's harmful rhetoric, and it has already led to stereotyping, discriminating, and profiling of the Latinx community.
For sure.
Did you guys know that according to NBC News, as of February 3rd, there have already been 5,693 deportations. It's
I've
a
been
lot.
keeping up.
It's
Did you guys see
ridiculous.
that video? The ASMR
I was
video
literally just gonna
that
mention
the White
that.
House posted?
They
That's
have been posting
ridiculous.
a
It
lot
was
on their
disgusting.
page.
What was I didn't see it.
It
don't
wasn't.
follow them,
It was
but-
said POV or like ASMR, like us deporting illegal criminals, and it was a silent video, and all you could hear were like the shackles because they're tying people
my
up
God.
and putting
Oh
them up.
my.
Like,
It's
and it made
awful.
me so mad.
Even
And-
on Valentine's
Yes,
Day,
Valentine's
they made
Day
a
post.
card about like a cute
like
little
a
love
cutesy.
card
It was
about deportations with Trump's face on it, and it's awful. It's awful.
The DBQ in the future is going to be crazy.
The DVD.
like it's like true or false. Was this a real thing posted by a real official government account?
Yep.
That's crazy. That's embarrassing.
It is
also.
embarrassing. And yeah, okay, so again, this is unfortunately affecting a lot of people in this country right now, indirectly and directly. Like, even if you're not directly being detained, like, it still affects you in your community. And we just spoke to Amory Jackson, a student here at Howard University, about how this may affect her and her family on campus. So let's cue that interview with her and Chantilly.
Pa'lante.
Okay. Hi.
Hi.
Can you give us a little intro, please?
Yeah, of course. My name is Amory Jackson. I'm a junior biology major, chemistry and environmental studies double minor from Miami, Florida.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Amory is a lovely, lovely e-board member of Shango. What do you do for us?
Well, I am one of the co-secretaries of Shango.
Nice.
Yes.
And so I can imagine that's a lot of work.
Yes.
Okay, so obviously there's a lot going on right now in this political climate, especially when it comes to immigration. And here at Shango at Howard University, we are advocates for the Latina community.
Right.
And so how have recent immigration policies affected you personally or those in your community?
I would say that, of course, in relation to the policies and how that's affected me personally, I think it's like a matter of being concerned for my family, like my mom side of the family. All my family members are from Nicaragua, so everyone immigrated here. My mom, like, thankfully, she got her citizenship, like, while in high school. But just thinking about the tios and some of the tias, and even beyond that, just, like, my community in Miami. Like, Miami is a heavily, like, immigrant there's a large immigrant population in Miami. So just being very concerned for my community, of course, back home, my immediate family, because I do have some, like, family members that are undocumented or waiting to hear back. So, yeah. So just thinking about it in terms of family and community back home.
Yeah. So, what have you been doing in terms of advocacy for like those people to reach out to your family members, to your community, even to those that are in this community? Have you been doing anything? Is there ways that people can advocate for them?
I think that, I mean, of course, everything starts with conversation. I haven't directly put it into action just yet. It's just like been a processing moment. Like, what exactly is going on? What does all of this mean in terms of all of these like executive orders? What exactly does this, how exactly would this affect, of course, like my family and other people's families like close to me, or like some of my friends' families, like for instance. So just having those conversations, especially like with my mom, my aunt, like two of my parents, and yeah, I would definitely say like a lot of that quote unquote like action I've been taking has been has definitely been conversation.
And that's good. That's how you start. It's important to spread awareness. Just this past weekend, we ended up going to Columbia Heights, which is a predominantly Latina community in Washington, D.C., and we passed out the Know Your Right cards. And yeah, just spreading awareness is truly, truly important. And so you mentioned briefly about the executive orders from Donald Trump, and it's been a lot, especially since he's been in office. And so what would you say are your primary concerns about, like, what he's been putting out there?
It's just like, of course, with everything going on, like, of course, like thinking about home, but then also thinking about Howard as well, especially how it would affect like undocumented students who have like who have been, of course, I don't want to say given opportunity, not using that type of language, but but just like thinking about students who are undocumented, who like are receiving education at Howard University, and just thinking about them, and especially some of the things I've been hearing like about like that what's going on campus, like in terms of ICE agents being on campus and like ICE recruitment occurring like in SOB, which is scary.
It is scary.
It's very scary, and I just of course would like to know how exactly all of this in terms of like all the things that Donald Trump is passing, like all of the executive orders, like how is this affecting the student population, like the undocumented student population on campus.
And so what actions do you think students or other, young people can take to address or oppose these immigration policies, especially being on campus?
Yeah, I think it starts how you're doing it, Chantilly. I promise. Like just having these conversations, like it's extremely vital. First, of course, like you were saying, like just bringing awareness, spreading awareness to the issue, and then, like just meeting the community, like where they are, or just meeting the community where they are, like especially what you were doing in terms of what Radio Shango was doing, like with passing out red cards, like that's vital, that's important. It starts like that, and then of course comes like the letter writing, and just opposing a lot of the things in terms of like opposing a lot of the things that are going on, so that Shango and Radio Shango can like we could just put our voices out there and like our opinions like on paper, like this is what we believe, and we do not agree with what's going on. And we also, I don't know if I could say this, but like just in terms of Howard University, even bringing ICE agents on campus or letting that happen, that's disgusting.
It is, yeah.
So just fighting against that, like through action, through our words, of course. Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you, Amory. This was amazing. You gave wonderful insight. And yeah, I definitely agree with what you're saying. It's important to advocate, and we can advocate by speaking out, not being afraid to share our voice and our opinions and calling out what's wrong. So thank you. And
Thank you.
if you want to shout anything out, your social media handles.
Not the social. Y'all go follow Shango. HU Shango. Yes, HU Shango. I hope.
Shango HU Bison.
Yes, I was like, there's something missing. Yes, HU Shango Bison. How embarrassing. And of course, follow Radio Shango. Just yes, please, and also like support your cultural organizations. Be a part of a cultural organization. Be a part of Shango. Like just now more than ever, we definitely need to like be in community. Yeah, because these are very yes, indeed. These are very like scary times. So just of course pouring back into our community is extremely important.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Pa'lante.
So, what did everyone think of the interview?
It was amazing. I think you guys flowed really well, and Amory had a lot of good things to say about how it's directly and again indirectly impacting her and her family, because I feel like a lot of people, and even if you're not like directly descended from immigrants, think, oh, like, okay, I'm safe, or like this isn't affecting me, but it's affecting your neighbor, it's affecting the people who are around you. So I think everybody needs to be aware about what's going on.
Yep, especially on this campus.
You never know. Like,
yeah.
It affects so many people that aren't in the spotlight. Like,
Exactly.
you may not think that they're experiencing things firsthand, but even like friends, like it doesn't even have to be someone that you're related to. Like I have so many friends that are like coming back to DC, checking on their families, and they still need like a lot of help to understand what's going on sometimes.
Okay, well, la tema de deportations has been controversial, especialmente con otros países, with other countries like Mexico and Colombia. During the start of the deportations, both Mexico and Colombia decided to send back the airplanes out of protest to Donald Trump's harmful words against the Latina community. But after threats of tariffs, both countries agreed to receive them. But you know which country had no issue with it?
El Salvador.
Yeah, claro.
But shout out to Mexico though, because she just made all U.S. citizens have to go there with visas.
Yep,
she's not
definitely
playing.
remaining strong on that.
I'm actually
Yeah.
gonna go study abroad, and I'm in the process of getting something now, unfortunately.
Oh, that's exciting.
Which, yeah, but now I have to go get a visa. So.
Oh, that's a lot of work. But
Yeah.
But
traveling
at least,
abroad is exciting.
Yeah, no, that is exciting. But
Yeah.
I digress. Back to the important stuff.
Yes, so El Salvador has agreed to accept non-Salvadorian deported immigrants, leaving possibly thousands to be stranded in a country that they've never been to before.
Ridiculous.
It seems like
Guys,
it's
this ain't
something-
me, bro. Like, this is for real. Like,
Yeah, definitely. Even with Trump trying to end birthright citizenship, which he and his son Barron benefit from.
His wife.
Yes, yep, exactly. Gabby, could you explain to our oyentes what this may mean?
Yeah. So in our Constitution, it explicitly states that any person born or naturalized in the U.S. is a citizen. And essentially, the Trump administration is trying to remove automatic citizenship for babies born to non-U.S. parents. But an injunction, so basically like a block, has been issued by a federal judge in Maryland and a federal judge in Seattle. And one of them said, and I quote, "The Constitution is not something with which the government may play policy games," essentially stating that despite the administration in power, like our country has concrete ideals that can't be changed administration to administration. So I'm glad somebody is standing up to him.
This also begs the question with the anti-immigrant rhetoric telling people to do it, quote unquote, the right way. What even are the possible pathways to legal
'cause people don't
residency
even
or
know.
citizenship, and how viable are they for most immigrants?
Well, yes, that rhetoric is extremely harmful, because let's start by establishing one thing that a lot of people, I guess, seem to not be able to wrap their minds around, is that our immigration system is not built for people to efficiently enter lawfully. Because first of all, let's list the common or pretty much only legal pathways to becoming a citizenship. You can 1, be the child of a U.S. citizen, 2, be married to a U.S. citizen, 3, be serving in the U.S. military, or be a lawful permanent resident of 5+ years, and then apply to be naturalized. So the requirements for applying for naturalization are the easy ones, like being over 18 years of age, being a continuous resident, being in good standing with the law, but then there's also the requirement of being able to read, write, and speak basic English, which that's like the first sign that, okay, like they're having blockades in place for people to not be able to apply. So, okay, let's say that you do not fall in any of those 5 categories. Then what do? You can first file to be a lawful permanent residence, which is what people call a green card. But in order to get a green card, you have to apply through family sponsorship, employment sponsorship, a humanitarian program sponsorship, and there's a couple other categories, but most people can't even, they don't fall into those categories. So, basically, if you have no citizens in your family, and you are not here employed, or if your employer will not sponsor you, or like if a nonprofit won't sponsor you, then you pretty much are out of options. So the route that most people go is that if they have a child that is older than 21, that child can petition for them. So it really breaks my heart because a lot of people think, oh, as soon as like my citizen child turns 21, like I'm on a pathway to get my green card. But once again, there is a blockade in place even for people in those situations, because people who have their child petition for them and get that, like, I forgot what exactly the name of that form is called. If that gets approved, you have to go out of the country, and I believe it's called like a petition. On the website, it says individuals who entered on a visa or were inspected and admitted by an immigration official will meet the first requirement of adjustment, which is what I just said. But then, essentially, after your child who is older than 21 petitions for you and that form gets approved by a judge, you then have to do your consular process as step 2. You can either do that here in this country, and it's called adjusting your status in the country, or you have to go back to your home country and file an I-601 waiver to a judge, and then get that, essentially that judge to approve you, and then you come back here and you're finally a legal citizen. But in order to get that like entire trip and be able to come back into the country legally, you have to have a waiver signed by a judge to, I guess, prove that you even entered here legally to begin with. And if you didn't enter here illegally to begin with, you cannot adjust your status in your home country or in this country. So you're essentially out of options, and you have no legal pathways to becoming a permanent resident. So
it seems like it's like hard
Exactly.
on
That's
purpose.
crazy.
because
That's
like
ridiculous.
even if you have a kid, you have to get your status adjusted, and you can't even do that by going back to your home country or staying in the country. So once again, like, you literally have no way of getting that approved by a judge.
Yeah,
So
that's crazy. My grandfather got a green card, so I didn't know that. Honestly, like, I didn't really do much research on
Right.
like the process of getting a green card, so excuse my ignorance on that. But learning that, I mean, I really thought you just like applied like.
I
like
know,
a
that's
credit
what I
card or
thought
something
too
like that,
before.
like-
It's such a complicated process, and that's why, like, it, even if I didn't know the technicalities of it, I always knew that the process was difficult, and that's why it made me so mad when people would be like, oh, just do it the right way, because they act as if it's like taking a driver's test or getting like some
Yeah.
sort of government ID. Like,
Because they
no,
make
it's
it
a whole,
seem like that by
I
saying
know.
just do it the right way. They just make it seem like it's 1, 2, 3
But-
steps and that's it.
And
But
then
it's
on
not.
top of that, even the people who do like get blessed and have a child who can petition for them, and then have a judge who allows them to go back to their home country and adjust their status, it still takes years upon years upon years for that entire process to go through.
And money.
So
Yep.
I know, and money. It takes so much, because I forgot to mention this, but before you can even start this process, you have to have a lawyer, and you have to meet with your lawyer to make sure that you qualify.
Yeah.
So that takes money, like, period.
Wait, so like where does DACA play into this?
So DACA, or Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, is a program that started in 2012 that gives temporary protection from deportation, or deferred action, to undocumented immigrants who came to the United States as children. So unfortunately, this has been in legal limbo for many years, since 2017. And as of now, renewals are still open, but it's encouraged to renew as soon as possible since the program remains under constant attack. And although the DHS, or Department of Homeland Security, will continue to accept first-time DACA applicants, they won't be processed as of now. So note that and tell that to whoever this applies to.
Renew your status. Well, on that note, I think just overall the political climate, just in regards to immigration and the naturalization process, I think it's really troubling right now.
It is,
and as much as we not deny it, but as much as we try to downplay it to, I guess, not get so worried about it, I think it's affecting all of us on a personal level. And I mean, even here on campus, I've noticed like an increased presence of ICE.
Yeah, I mean, as Amory mentioned earlier, ICE was seen in SOB. Now, who let them in there, I don't know. But, I mean, just really quick, just so we could cover what that is. So, ICE is the U.S. Immigration and Custom Enforcement, and they detain illegal immigrants who are apprehended and placed into removal proceedings, which is a whole nother thing. Raids have started, literally in California, like in Bakersfield area, which is a very big agricultural town, city. So that started there. I mean, there's literally been protests breaking out because of that in Los Angeles.
I've seen them on TikTok.
Yes, it's downtown. And again, guys, I'm from LA, so like where they were protesting was huge. I mean, that's a major freeway in downtown. Like, I've never seen that freeway stopped other than traffic, of course. But for people to be on the freeway, I mean, that really shows how big of an issue that is. And
the dedication, too.
No, literally. Like, I wish I could have been there. I mean, y'all know I'm Mexican. But, so, as Shanti mentioned earlier with Emory, we went down to Columbia Heights, which is again, predominantly Hispanic neighborhood here in D.C. And I was in a group with Kalea, the president, and Amaria, the co-secretary. And we went into deeper Columbia Heights. So handing out the cards, we just got a lot of positive feedback in a sense that, you know, everyone was really happy that we were doing this because they said that they were scared. They don't know what's happening for real. And it's scary. I mean, I don't know if you guys heard, but an 11-year-old in Texas recently committed suicide because she was being bullied.
Yeah.
She was being told that ICE was going to come take her family. And, like, it's a real problem, guys. And even if you don't think it is, and, again, I forgot who said it earlier, but if it's not, even if you don't think it's affecting you directly, it's a problem. It's still a problem. That doesn't mean it's not there. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It doesn't mean it's invisible.
And I think it's not... on top of it being, like, a issue in the Hispanic community, it's a broader issue of, like, the government regarding its, like, the people in this country as human beings. Like, it's an issue with, like, the government having way too much.
It is, yeah. And
power,
just
like,
being out there at Columbia Heights and just hearing, like, the positive feedback of people saying, oh, I'm a citizen, but I know someone who really needs this. It's really important to share these Know Your Rights cards, or to just inform people and inform the public. Like, you do not have to answer to these people. You do not have to risk your own life. You have rights. Everyone does under this Constitution, no matter what they try to change.
And mind you, this is not just affecting the Latine community. It's affecting all immigrants, like all foreigners, all, like, anyone who's basically not white.
Yep.
So
basically.
But if you guys, you know, a little shout out, if y'all are interested in doing a service project like that and joining us, like, please contact us and we could get out there. I mean, we
will be back out
there.
Yes,
we will be back
have a
out
part
there.
There's so many places.
Yeah,
besides
because
Columbia
it was
Heights
such a
too.
success on Saturday, and we got rid of, or like, we handed out a lot of our cards.
Literally, well, we handed all the Spanish ones for sure. So.
Yes, all the Spanish ones, the bilingual ones went really quick.
Yeah, so if y'all are trying to help out with that, just let us know.
Well, that is all for today. Gracias por escucharnos. Thank you for listening.
Yes, please make sure to continue the conversation.
Check in on your neighbors.
And be aware of what's going on.
Adios.